All right, so with your first couplet, you have uh, an establishing of the relationship between me, the lover, and my beloved. All right, so I am an empty wine glass, and the one that I love, who I'm talking to directly, is Granite. All right, so think about that relationship for a second. Okay, so you have their glass, a very thin kind of glass, and it's also empty. Then you have Granite. And then with the next stanza, you have a question, not a question, but you have a statement, an emphatic statement that asks, not asks, but that kind of talks about, what happens when these two things and these two beings touch, right? Just, try to ignore the poem for a second, but try to imagine what's going to happen if you touch these two things together. You have granite. It's a very, very hard kind of stone. It's unforgiving. It's very cold, right? And then you have a wine glass that's empty. So when you touch them together, what's bound to happen? The wine glass, if you don't do it very gently, the wine glass is bound to crack. So what do you do when you make them touch each other? You become careful, right? Because you don't want the empty wine glass to crack. But if you're not careful, you don't think about what's gonna happen to the wine glass if they touch a little bit too strong. If you don't think about those things and you just let them touch each other without thinking about it, that wine glass is bound to crack. Right, so now let's think about it. This persona, the one speaking in the poem, what do you think he favors? He or she favors? Do you think he's the type of person to very carefully make those two things touch, or is he the type of person who just lets his hands loose and just let those two things touch without thinking about it? All right, so let's continue. Then he says, you laugh, stop it. You laugh like the sun coming up laughs at a star that disappears into it. So it's a little bit cute because the sun is a star, and then you have, so for us the sun looks massive, right? And he says, this big star, when he sees that little star disappearing into the night when the sun comes up, he just laughs. Okay, so it's kind of cute. I mean, why do you hide? Why do you hide in the presence of greatness? And same reason why you, when you stalk someone, when you're following someone that you have a crush on, and then they finally turn back and try to look behind them, you don't stand there frozen and say, hi, I've been following you for 10 miles because I like the side of your back. You don't do it, you kind of hide away because you're a little bit too shy and declaring yourself. I don't think anybody does that. Like, they declare themselves. Hello, I have a massive crush on you. They don't do that, In the presence of their beloved, there's always that shyness, yes, that comes with it. And what does the son do? What does the beloved do? He just laughs, finds it adorable, I guess. All right. So let's work with that sense of hiding away, not declaring yourself, not declaring that you have feelings for someone. There's always that fear that's connected to it. Why are we always afraid to, open up and be the first one to say, hey, I like you, and hey, musta, or hey, what are you doing? Or, just be the first one to show that you have feelings, because there's always that fear, all right? And then let's move on to the next stanza. He says, love opens my chest and thought returns to its confines. Patience and rational considerations leave, only passion stays, whimpering and feverish. So it's at this point that we can clearly see that, this persona isn't all about um, thinking properly, you know, granite, wineglass, do it slowly if you want to touch them. No, he's not that. He's someone who says, when love enters me, or when I'm in love, all rational thought just disappears. Um, Patience and being uh, rational, they just disappear. Because all you want, really, when you're at the presence of someone that you love, is to be with them. So this person isn't afraid to take a risk. He's all about listening to this longing that he has deep inside him and says, okay, I want this person. I want to be with this person. I'm going to chase after this person. So his passion and everything that has nothing to do with rationality, right? So when he says only passion stays, whimpering and feverish, when you whimper and you're feverish, it's you have coronavirus. No, no, no. When you, so he says that's the kind of feeling that you get when you give in to your passions. You surrender yourself to it, and when you surrender to it, you kind of look like a little whimpering, feverish animal that's laid bare all of their feelings. All right, so person not afraid of risks. Then he says, some men fall down in the road like dregs thrown out, then totally reckless. The next morning, they gallop out with new purposes. So, if you go back to the stanza before this, only passion stays, whimpering and feverish, and you say, some men fall down in the road like dregs thrown out. It's a lot, it's a lot like getting drunk. Getting drunk off of your emotions and your passions, because it's kind of like drinking, which you're not yet supposed to do, to know, because what are you're in second year, yeah, and you should be busy studying to become accountants and not going out and drinking all day every day. But in the future, when you are allowed to drink because you've finished your studies and you've survived the coronavirus and everything, what he's talking about here is a lot like, loving someone is, and letting yourself feel all of these feelings is a lot like getting drunk. Okay, you get drunk, you drown yourself in your feelings for this person, because you're not squishing it down, you're not in denial, you're definitely chasing after this person, and it's a lot like getting drunk off of your feelings for that person. And when you get drunk, you kind of you act like this, you fall down on the side of the road, and then you get thrown out of the bar. All right, but then after this night of reckless drinking, the next morning, he says, they gallop out with new purposes. So I guess this person never never had a hangover before, but I guess that's the difference between beer or wine and getting drunk off of that and getting drunk off of love. See, when you get drunk off alcohol, the next morning you get a hangover, but if all you're doing is just giving into your feelings or surrendering all to your passion and your emotions, and you get drunk off of it, the next morning when you wake up, it feels like, there's a reason for living again. And yeah, and I guess in the best of it, that's what love is supposed to feel like. you feel like you have a new purpose in life now. When you love someone, right? So that's what he's talking about. Then we move on to the next part of the stanza. It says, "Love is the reality, and poetry is the drum that calls us to that." These lines clearly hark back to um, Rumi's belief that in order to, get to your beloved, who is God, or just any beloved, um, the way to that is poetry, music, and dance. But what he's saying here is that the only thing that can capture love properly is poetry. And the reason for that is love is an abstract thing. It is, or when you hold someone's hand, it's still not a manifestation of the abstract concept of love, right? It's still just love is still just a flimsy feeling that doesn't have any tangible evidence. All right, so it works as an idea, which is why he says poetry is the drum that calls us to that. The only thing that can capture this abstract idea of love is poetry. Because what is poetry? It works in metaphors. It so you have here two similar languages. A metaphor. Metaphor is what? You sorry. You you are what? What's You are my sunshine. You are my star. Okay, you equals star. You equals sunshine. That kind of relationship is, it doesn't exist, but you are making that kind of relationship exist. The person you love is your star. The person that you love is your sunshine. So by that very kind of concept, you are working with the language of metaphors, and then you use that kind of language to talk about something as metaphorical as love. Then that's kind of a really good relationship. All right, so that's why he says the only kind of language that can properly capture love in all of its abstract entity is poetry. Okay. See. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. I guess I believe that because mostly it's hard to write poetry. But I would really like to respectfully disagree with Rumi here because I don't write poetry, but I do write nonfiction and fiction, and I'm pretty sure I can capture love as well. But it's all right. I guess let's just give it to Rumi, okay? Because anyway, yeah. If you do disagree with it, he only means it that way. Poetry and love, they're equal to each other because they're both working with metaphors. All right, so yeah, let's just give it to Rumi. All right, okay, so let's move on. So he says, "Don't